Oh, right. Yeah, I thought we'd do this one. 5 most compelling UFO videos. It's gotta be one of them's gotta be the military. They gotta be the military ones because the military ones have to be the most because military know what they're looking at. Do you know what I mean? They know what. Yeah, they know what flying objects are capable of more than anybody. So if they are looking at something and saying, "I don't know what that is," then yeah, you can take kind of take their word for it. But yeah, we'll see. I don't know whether this is going to be because I've seen loads of like loads. When people say, "Oh yeah, how comes if everyone's got a phone and a camera, why isn't there hundreds of UFO sightings?" There is. Like, there's loads of different things, and some of them you could probably explain, but like, there is a lot. Do you know what I mean? People seeing lights, but then now it's I think kind of well now America's admitted it. I think now it's kind of like the cat's out the bag now. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's alien little green men from a different planet, or whether it's something that's from Earth and has always been with us, but we've just never. I don't know. But yeah. Anyway, enough waffle. 5 most compelling UFO videos. Let's go.
For millennia, humans have gazed up at the stars, wondering if we are truly alone in this vast universe. While skeptics dismiss the idea of extraterrestrial,
Who's the scientist that said the quote? There's two options: either we're alone in the universe or we're not. Either one is equally terrifying. That's a good point.
there are moments, strange, chilling, and unexplainable, that make even the most devout among us stop and question. Particularly so given the recent flood of both footage, eyewitness testimony, and whistleblower accounts
Yeah,
that have been
him.
exposed in the United States Congress. From eerie lights in the
That guy is the guy. Commander Fravor and all them seem to be able to talk a lot more freely. That guy seems to be like he says himself that he has people with him to make sure he doesn't say anything he's not allowed to actually say. Yeah, like watch his stuff and constantly he's like, I can't say this, I can't say, but like I think he's the main guy. Like, because Commander Fravor and all of them seem to be able to talk more. Who's the other one? Ryan Graves or something like that. Greaves or something. I can't remember. But yeah, yeah, that's right.
skies to spectacular UAP formations, these clips blur the line between science fiction and reality. Let's dive into 5 UFO and alien encounters that convince us we're not alone. As always, hit those lights, sit back, and keep an open mind as we prepare to explore the unknown. Number 5. Our first video was taken by a passenger on board United Airlines flight UA2359, travelling from Chicago O'Hare Airport to Newark in December of 2024, and has left us all scratching our heads here at Top 5s. Take a look. Cruising at an altitude of a little over 30,000 feet, the Boeing 737 airliner was on a regular scheduled flight when passengers started reporting strange light outside the windows, calling their attention to the bewildered onboard staff. The video's uploader began filming with their phone, capturing 4 stationary shining orbs, staggering over a number of miles, and hanging motionless above the thick cloud base below. All appear quite large and emit an identical yellowish hue, with no flashing lights, blinkers or strobes, as are legally required by all other commercial, private or military aircraft. The UAPs look to be in formations of 2, each light on a parallel path with the other, and as the camera pans left at the start, a smaller white light object can be seen travelling from left to right, almost beneath the first UAP, yet the verdict is out. Half of the comments suggest this is simply another plane in the distance, whilst others think it's another of the formation, perhaps returning to join up. It's interesting to note that 2 other aircraft actually can be seen in the clip at around the 10-second mark. Both are crossing right between the lights, yet in separate directions and different altitudes, but can clearly be distinguished by their blinking navigation lights. Viewers contend this adds credibility to the sighting, as the UAPs do not share any resemblance with the aircraft, and stand out as far larger and brighter, not to mention stationary. During World War II, the term Foo Fighters was conjured by Allied pilots to describe the myriad unexplained aerial phenomena and mysterious flying objects they encountered during missions, sighted all over the globe and in different theatres of combat. These were often described as glowing orbs or light, resembling those in the clip, and reportedly followed aircraft or moved in seemingly intelligent ways. However, none were ever shot down or captured to provide an explanation. Whilst drones have been offered as an explanation, we find it hard to believe that any of those commercially available can reach operational heights of over 5 miles up. What do you think of this clip?
See, as well, you'd think that, I mean, even air hostesses and that, if your job is flying around, you'd think they'd know. I don't know, probably a commercial pilot flies much more than a military pilot, I'd imagine. So you'd think that they'd be able to say what it is. That's what I don't like, is when people say, oh, it's obviously this, but you've got actual people that spend their life flying around and they're saying, yeah, this is some crazy shit. But yeah, that was because that's what they all say as well, like there doesn't seem to be any combustion. There's no combustion engine. There's no something kicking out making it go. Like it just seems to be there and then not be there. And yeah, also the Commander Fravor one says it jammed his scanner. I don't know whether that's got to come up on it, but it said it jammed his scanner, which is an act of war if another country did it. But he's like, that's no way there's another country that's got that technology, otherwise they'd rule the world. He's like, there's no way it can be Russia or China, because anybody that has the capability that these things have, yeah, they'd be in charge.
Captured on live television during a Tuesday morning Fox News broadcast at 4:43 a.m. The following clip is simply peculiar and looks like something straight out of an alien invasion movie. Take a look.
That's mad. Looks like fish.
As soon as the clip starts, dozens of white light orb-like objects can be seen looping, diving and weaving in the early morning dawn, right above the brightly lit city of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. As many as 42 separate UAPs can be seen flying in a strange series of patterns, much to the confusion of the Fox News readers who are watching. Initially, it's easy to dismiss the video as birds in flight. However, a lot of us have our doubts about this mundane theory. Despite the city's artificial lights below, there's no real feasibility that they would be strong enough to reflect off any flying birds above, particularly not in any number, such as this, or even at this altitude. If this were the case, surely we would see videos like this all the time above any major city, and it would be a common occurrence. As commented by one Reddit user, you know why it's not birds, because birds are everywhere, cities are everywhere, lights are everywhere, videos like this are not everywhere. Further to this, the UAPs in the clip appear to emit some sort of contrail behind them, similar to commercial aircraft flying at altitude. However, there is not enough detail in the video to identify any form of man-made propulsion system. Curiously, the object's movements are more reminiscent of a fish than a bird, with slow sweeping motions and lazy arcs, and some of them seem to fade out or even disappear before reappearing in another location. Whilst researching this clip, we came across another similarly bizarre incident, yet this one was reported over 500 years ago. Around 4 or 5 a.m. on April 14, 1561, residents of Nuremberg, Germany, looked skywards and witnessed a dreadful apparition. There stood a ball of partly dull, partly black ferrous colour, likewise on both sides and about the sun, such blood-red ones, and other balls in large numbers, about 3 in a line and 4 in a square, also some alone. The stunned crowd of onlookers described how the orbs then all started to fight among themselves. The globes flew back and forth vehemently for over an hour. Then they became fatigued to such an extent that they all fell from the sun down upon the earth, as they were all burned, and then wasted away on the earth with immense smoke. After all this, there was something like a black smear, very long and thick, sighted, the shaft pointed to the east, the point pointed west. No concrete explanation has ever been proposed for this medieval
What
phenomenon.
about meteorite?
It was again reported in Switzerland in 1566, so it seems the incident captured on video is perhaps not so unique. What do you make of it?
What about a meteorite? Because I'm sure it's like hundreds, thousands hit the Earth every single day. It's just that by the time it goes through our atmosphere, it just gets blown into little bits. So like, but yeah, by the time, what if it's something like that? Because like that's another thing. People can go their whole life without. I've seen hundreds of shooting stars, hundreds of shooting stars. Like I couldn't. Yeah, like I've seen two. I've seen ones where it look, yeah, crazy amounts. But some people go their whole life without ever seeing a shooting star. Like people aren't aware of what's going on above them at the best of times. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, people don't think of it. I don't think so. People, yeah, but that's what I would say. Maybe and a medieval mind. But in saying that, that's assuming that we know more than they do. Yeah, but yeah, that one was crazy, and it was more like fish in a pond.
Number 3. This video is one that has converted many who viewed it from skeptic to believer,
It's
and was
fucking
released along with a
Johnny
frustratingly
Five.
small selection of other previously classified UAP footage by the Pentagon in 2021. Filmed from a military helicopter patrolling the airspace above a US Joint Operations Base in Iraq in 2017-2018, the footage was captured using a mounted FLIR, forward-looking infrared camera, that detects infrared radiation or heat emitted by objects in the environment and converts it into visible images on screen. The camera tracks a bizarre-looking UAP as it floats or projects itself over the base, changing its heat signature from one moment to the next, only visible through IR, as alternating black.
I don't know what that is, but that looks like the video. There's a video, and someone says it's they said it's a witch. I remember reacting to that scary video, and it's like going over like between the gap of two cliffs, I think. And there's a thing, so that looks like it's exactly the same thing. So I don't know what that is, but that like, yeah,
White shades, highly irregular for any known living organism or commercial machinery/propulsion systems. As if this was the case, there would be other indicators such as smoke, compressed air, fuel or flame, such as from a jet's engine's afterburner. The UAP itself appears to have a rounded, unevenly surfaced upper section, with irregular pointed features, while the lower section is formed of some sort of trailing wires, stems, strands, or appendages of different length, resulting in it largely being referred to as the jellyfish UAP. Some have noted that it could be a drone, hence the lack of any identifying propulsion features, and whilst this is feasible, it's hard to imagine any drone, particularly one that looks as large as this, flying unnoticed above an operational US base. Not to mention it must be the strangest looking drone in the world. When the camera zooms out, the UAP appears to be fairly sized.
that's the other thing. When it's military as well, if it is another country, then these are like acts of war. Do you know what I mean? These are like answerable offences, but no one ever gets held accountable for it. Like there's a crazy one here in the UK where something or three things shut down every missile on a UK military base, and one of the soldiers was like, for one of them to go down is like 1,000,000 to 1. He's like, for them to go down one after the other is like impossible, but that's what happened. And then the things flew off and everything kind of reactivated. He's like, that can't be another country, because if that's another country, they are so more advanced. They are like thousands of years ahead of us.
Distinctly visible against the backdrop as it travels past buildings, defence positions, and the perimeter fence, all the while not changing course or height and unimpacted by weather. This discredits the popular theory that it could be a balloon, as these especially spin, bounce, and drift in the wind, naturally never following a set, straight line pattern, but often rotating or changing direction freely. Jeremy Corbell, the UFO enthusiast, investigative journalist, and friend of the channel, who first got hold of the footage, claims that the full video is actually longer than what's shown in this clip, during which the UAP slowly descends over a body of water before submerging beneath the surface. 17 minutes later, it re-emerges and shoots skywards at an unbelievable speed. However, much to the frustration of other researchers, the full clip has never been released. It's unsettling how nobody in the area reacts to the UAP as it passes, despite it travelling over 2 dogs, initially, and then 2 people walking in the open,
Two dogs, it
or
looks
at
like
least
two
one of them
grizzly
would clearly
bears.
have spotted this peculiar craft in the air. In theorising that, it may be invisible to the naked eye, and only viewable via FLIR, or other such optical devices, it's eerie to think that there could be any number of these UAPs moving around us, unseen and undetected, every day. What do you think of this one? Number 2. Captured late one evening in Cornwall, England, United Kingdom, this clip will have even skeptics struggling to conjure up an everyday explanation. Take a look. As the clip starts, a series of glowing red and yellow lights can be seen in the distance, slowly flying from left to right, then turning back and splitting into what appears to be either 3 or 4 separate lights in a diamond formation. Astonishingly, the formation of 4 then merges into a single white light as the extreme left and right lights extinguish themselves, before this again splits into 2 distinct white lights, one beneath the other, travelling away from the camera. Unfortunately, the clip ends here, but the uploader spoke about the experience with a local news agency, reporting that the lights floated away into the distance and were also completely silent and did not move like anything I recognise, not even drones, also estimating that the UAPs were around 6 miles from their position. Bearing this in mind, the UAPs would have to be considerably large, powerful and bright to be easily visible at this distance, characteristics that a commercial drone simply wouldn't be able to achieve. Tor Point, where the sighting occurred, is relatively close to Plymouth, where many of Britain's key military installations are located, including the one nuclear repair and refuelling facility of the Royal Navy, Royal Marine Barracks, a coastal shooting range at Tregantle Fort and Plymouth Sound, a large dedicated area of water used by the Navy for training exercises. The proximity of this incident to Plymouth has split UAP enthusiasts' opinion on the sighting. Some believe that the lights, and who or whatever is controlling them, could be observing military activity or eerily displaying a show of force, as the UAPs seem to have no concern for stealth. In contrast, others have suggested that the lights could actually be experimental military hardware, but whether reverse engineered or not, we'll leave that up to you. Curiously, Cornwall and its surrounding areas have been a hotbed of UAP activity recently, with numerous sightings of mysterious lights hovering or zipping around the sky, low-flying craft, and other unexplained phenomena, the most recent of which was reported on just January 27th this year. Number 1.
Yeah, that is crazy, because what does that? You try and give something a obvious explanation, but what could do that? But then that's what I mean. It could be military. It could be something the military's trying out. And I think like some things are, but yeah.
Our final piece of footage comes straight from the crew of a medical evacuation helicopter operating out of the southwestern United States, and was recorded in January of 2025 during a routine flight from Yuma City to Phoenix, Arizona. Take a look. Flying using NODs, or night optical devices, the uploader, a former US Army medic turned flight nurse, claims the pilot of their helicopter observed what was initially presumed to be two aircraft moving south to north while their helicopter was heading northeast at an altitude of around 2,000 feet. Notably, neither aircraft was showing up on the ADS-B system, an onboard tool that provides real-time information on nearby air traffic, enabling better situational awareness and navigational aid. Admittedly, the uploader writes that this system doesn't always display all aircraft, such as some other military craft, crop dusters, or paramotorists. However, the incident then turns even stranger. Neither of the UAPs displayed any standard aviation signaling lights, which are usually green, red, and/or white, and as mentioned earlier, are required by aviation law. They also couldn't be seen with the naked eye. Regarding this as peculiar, but not necessarily exceptional, the crew returned to their routine duties, noting that they were flying near restricted military airspace, which could perhaps explain the lights. That was until the lights split, one shooting upwards at a considerable speed, whilst the other descending rapidly before disappearing. But then more UAPs began to show up, promoting the flight nurse to start recording on their phone, aimed through a night vision device. Despite the video being just under 2 minutes, the crew watched the lights for around 3/4 of an hour as they darted across the night sky, dimming and then brightening, drifting between different altitudes, sometimes disappearing, to then flash back on, and forming up in a rough triangular formation. Intrigued by their sighting, the uploader even went to the effort of checking the flight radar for that night and location, finding no commercial or military aircraft in the vicinity or any training exercises that could account for the weird lights. Arizona is no stranger to unidentified aerial phenomenon, most notably the mind-blowing Phoenix Lights incident, which took place on March 13, 1997. Thousands of witnesses, among them law enforcement officers and pilots, including the actor Kurt Russell, reported a huge V-shaped craft with lights moving silently across the sky. Described as several football fields in length, witnesses said it moved slowly and silently, blocking out stars as it passed overhead, whilst later that evening, a series of stationary glowing orange orbs appeared in a curved line over the Phoenix area. These lights hovered for several minutes before disappearing one by one, and were caught on video camera, resulting in perhaps one of the most famous pieces of UFO footage ever. We'd love to hear from any former or serving military or commercial pilots in the comments below, letting us know if you've had any UAP sightings or experienced any potential extraterrestrial phenomenon. Thanks for watching, keep your eyes on the sky, and we'll see you next time.
I don't actually think I'd seen any of them, to be fair. And they're all pretty good, to be fair, because it is like, what is it then? Like, there's definitely something. I did see a scientist say as well that now the burden is on the disbeliever because of how much footage there is. Like, people seeing it, but people have been seeing it for years. Like, there's a story of some mate, well, it's actually Russell Brand's mate, but he lived in Camden. And he was walking back to his flat and just noticed it. He's like, it's the shop, I think he said, yeah, the shopkeeper went, look at that, mate. He's like, and I looked up, and yeah, it's like there was like lights in the sky, like UFOs, and he's like, and everyone had stopped. But he just hadn't noticed that everyone had kind of stopped and come out the shops, and everyone's looking up in the high street, looking up at this thing. He's like, everyone saw it. Everyone was standing in the street looking up and watching it. And He's like, so he tried to run to his flat to get a better view from his balcony. And yeah, it's like by the time he's got there, military planes chased the lights off. And he's like, and I just thought, that's it then. He's like, I thought this was going to be massive news because everybody saw it. It was like a mass sighting. And he's like, and it was never in the news. He's like, it was in the local Camden paper, but that's it. No one else touched it. He's like, but everybody saw it. And that was like years ago. But yeah, people see things flying around all the time. Like I say, some of it might be military, um, yeah, military gadgets, but yeah, when you actually get military pilots saying like it's like impossible for the human body to go that fast, as fast as these things move. I'm sure it's the Commander Fravor one where he says it disappeared. He had it like in his sights, and then it disappeared and reappeared like 50 miles away at the next checkpoint they was going to. He's like somehow it knew because he was on like a training run with his team. He's like somehow it knew where we was going next, and it disappeared and reappeared on the radar. Yeah, however many miles away. And he's like, that's like defies all laws of physics. That's impossible. But it did it, and it jammed their um, radar as well. Like I say, which that's an act of war. So if it was Russia or if it was China, you'd have an argument to declare war. But then, would you want to if they're capable of that? But yeah, yeah. Let me know your thoughts. But yeah, sweet.